I'll go ahead and call to order the June 9th meeting of the Auburn Plan Commission. And I do want to remind you, if you haven't signed into the back when you entered, please make sure you put your name down on the clipboard back there for the record. And also there's a copy of the agenda back there as well for you to look at. Can we go ahead and have a roll call, please?
Darrell O'Connell, Chris Lamb, Joseph Solis, Lucas Straw.
Here.
Mike McCarowitz.
Here.
Jim Fincham.
Here.
John Good.
Here.
Suzanne Davis.
Here.
Susan Mag.
Here.
Devin Boland.
Here.
Tammy Bailey.
Here.
Logan Zuber.
Here.
I can confirm that we do have a quorum. You all should have had access to the May 12th, 2026 meeting notes. Is there any questions on the minutes, or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any further discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any need to modify the agenda? On to old business. There is no old business, but we do have 4 items underneath the new business. The first being a NatMis development plan. This is PC Development Plan 2026-3. I'll go ahead and open a public hearing and turn it over to the staff for the staff report.
Thank you, sir. For this request, Phil Troyer, who's representing the property owner, the National Automotive Truck Museum of the U.S. Incorporated, they are requesting development plan approval for what's referred to as the NatMis Cold Storage Building. It was proposed to be located at 1630 Wayne Street. Development plan requires public hearing, was advertised in the Star on May 27th, and there were 6 adjacent property owners notified. So the property boundary itself, highlighted in the yellow, that's the property that's being considered this evening. There currently are 3 residential homes located on the property. This is the development plan itself, showing what they're proposing for the site. They're proposing a new building and a storage building. We'll have one access point off of Wayne Street with a paved area providing access into the 7-bay garage building. They're also proposing to construct a stormwater detention basin, which would be to the east of the building. So any runoff from the building, we run off from the parking lot area, the paved area, would channel its way down to the detention basin, which would detain the water and then release the water at a controlled rate to the creek. Building elevations just show again what the building is proposed to look like. The 7 garage doors would actually face north. The side of the building on the west elevation would be along Wayne Street. The property itself is zoned IS, which is institutional zoning district. The proposed use of the property is the permitted use within that zoning district. Our property is also located within our wellhead protection overlay district. What they're proposing as far as use of the building and containment is a permitted allowable use in that overlay district. The photographs of the property just basically illustrate the 3 residential buildings that are there. Again, all 3 of those buildings are going to be demolished. This is the northernmost building. The aerial photograph of the property highlights the boundaries of this area and the 3 homes that are proposed to be demolished. There will be one single-family home that they do not own adjacent to the building to the south along Wayne Street. And of course, the HCD vehicle storage maintenance building is to the north. The development plan was routed for review a couple of times, and there are a few routing comments, and only one really outstanding comment that has been agreed upon. There was a need to relocate an electric utility pole. Actually, they relocated 2 of them, but the southernmost one relocated onto private property, and that pole provides service down Wayne Street as far as also electric for the new building and for the homes in the south. So Auburn Electric is wanting to have an easement provided for that utility pole. It would be along the southern property line, just for the front lot. They have agreed, Atlas has agreed to do that. It's just going through the process of executing and recording the easements. So all the routing comments have been addressed. Project Advisory Committee met back on June 4th to review this plan. We have received one email, just a question regarding the architectural design of the building, and provided information regarding that. A public notice signed what has been posted since May 22nd. So again, with the institutional zoning of the property, the use that they want to have there is permitted. The building itself is a little over 9,000 square foot. And again, there'll be 7 vehicular garage doors facing north, and there'll be pedestrian doors on both the east and west side of the building to be able to walk into the building without raising one of the larger doors. I provided development standards for the institutional district. All the setbacks have been met for the proposed building. There's really no parking standard, minimum parking for a vehicular storage building such as this. But and all the doors have access to the pavement that would be providing the access to the individual bay doors off of Wayne Street. But there's also some pavement area that provides parking for 2 vehicles that would be parked there yet not blocked with the garage doors. The 3 existing driveways that are there for the single-family homes will all be removed and again replaced with one access drive. There'll also be a landscaping provided that's required along Wayne Street. That's just the buffer between what would be the property line and where the pavement area is. And they're also showing landscaping on the north and south property lines. Architectural standards, this is not within the Gateway Overlay District, which has the increased standards. So the standards are very basic for the institutional district, and they do comply with that. It's basically it is a metal building. It's 4-sided, metal with a metal roof. But that does meet our requirements. Our specific architectural standard states that whatever siding materials are used on the front facade, that would be the north facade, that's the main entrance to the building, is what has to be utilized on a public-facing facade, which would be the west facade. Well, they're using metal siding and metal trim on the front facade, they're allowed to use that on the side. So it's all 4-sided with that material. And so there has been some concern expressed by a resident upon that part of the proposal, but again, I've indicated it complies with our standard. If it was in the corridor overlay, that's a completely different set of standards. That's very specific basic requirements, 4-sided architecture to match, totally different standard. For pedestrian access, there's a sidewalk that will be removed as part of the whole demolition activity there. But Wayne Street is part of a larger trail program that's going to be occurring. The county's going to be working on as far as getting the trail all the way from 11A all the way up to Wayne Street. The trail will be going down Wayne Street up to get to in front of the ACD Museum, where then it crosses Wayne Street. The NAPNIS plans do show construction of an 8-foot trail segment that will be in front of their entire property. Or actually, it's going to be extended all the way up to where the crosswalk is in front of the ACD Museum building. So they're complying with the trail standards that we have in constructing that. They also have, off of that, they have a pedestrian sidewalk around the buildings to the pedestrian doors. The only utilities that's going to be brought to the building will be electric. There's no public water, sanitary sewer for the building, no restroom in the building. It's not required. I already mentioned the stormwater control, and the Drainage Board has approved the stormwater plan for this project. So overall, the development plan does comply with all the standards of the UDO, and staff does recommend approval of this development plan. subject to 3 conditions. Our standard condition, that erosion control measure be in place before they start construction activity. And then the condition on establishing that 10-foot wide easement. We simply want to have that in place before the building can be occupied. And then our final condition is that all the work needs to be done according to the approved plan. I have submitted proposed findings of fact for your consideration. That concludes that report.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions from commission members for staff?
Not at this time.
Thank you. We may call you back up. Would anybody like to come and speak on behalf of the petitioner? It's fine.
My name's Don Monismith.
Please come up to the mic and say your name and who you're representing.
I'm Don Monismith. I'm treasurer to the board and member of the board of directors authorized to speak. This storage facility is desperately needed for us. We worked with Jim extensively over the last couple months to make sure everything's in compliance. We just asked it to approve this for us, and it'll be an improvement of that stretch of Queen Street really well.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Anybody from the public that would like to come speak on or against the project, please come forward and speak. Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address. On all of these today, we have 4 of them. Try to limit your comments to about 3 minutes long. That doesn't just pertain to this one, it pertains to all of them, just so everybody can speak and we can kind of get moving through the 4 items we do have on the agenda. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Dan Braun, 608 Greenbrier Boulevard in Auburn. I guess I want to say, first of all, I do support this structure. I do believe it's needed. And I would love to see NatMest have this type of facility available to them. However, I do have a couple of concerns. The statement that it complies with UDO, I think it complies at the absolute minimum. My belief is because Main Street would be considered an arterial street, the UDO states 150 feet clearance from Lincoln Street. Does give an exception, does say that if the driveway can't be 150 feet, then it needs to be at the farthest point of the property from the intersection, which this driveway does not meet that. It does, I will agree, meet the fact that it is within 60 feet, which is the absolute minimum standard UDO lists. So I did want to kind of make that point of clarification. The other concern that I have is in the 2040 plan in 3 different places, it states that South Wayne Street is considered to be, or could be considered to be, an entrance corridor into the city. And I do believe that once the overpass is built over the railroad tracks, it will become even more so. I rode my bike down that way the other day, and was really impressed to see that, Praxis is making the change to their building. Pocorni's Restoration really did a nice job on the front of their building when they remodeled. The former auto parts store, Dean's Body Shop, I believe now has a concrete or stone face installation company that they've done a real nice job of their property. And all along that block, you can see buildings that have been remodeled and really dressed up the appearance. My concern with this particular building is the fact that it's essentially going to look like a pole barn. And I would hope that we can come to some kind of agreement, hopefully with the folks in NatMest, that maybe we can do something a little bit different rather than have a pole barn looking structure in that space. Again, I do support it. I do think NatMest needs a building. I respect their ability to have that. I think a better location on the property might meet the UDO needs is better as far as driveway is concerned. And I would like to see something a little better as far as that being an entrance way to the city. So, thank you.
Thank you.
John Pontius, Auburn, Indiana. I'm president of the board of NatMest. And we have not really explored this, but when there has been talk about a mural for something on the side of the building facing Wayne Street. Saying, hey, museum district this way, something that would obviously be approved by the city or whoever approves that. So we have thought about things to dress it up.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come and speak to this project? Anybody else from the public to come and speak to this project? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission for any other questions or comments of the project.
No, I'm good.
No questions or comments? Would you please turn to the last page, the findings of facts? We do have to approve the findings of facts. There are 5 of them. And there are basically our standards that it meets the 2040 plan and so forth. We need to have those voted on in the affirmative. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Move to approve the findings of fact for BC Development Plan 2026-003 in the affirmative.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or comments and anything in particular of the 5 that anybody has a question or issue on? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the findings of facts for PC Development Plan 2026-3, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. And last but not least, we need to approve this PC Development Plan, and we do have the 3 conditions that we need to be mindful of in making the motion.
Move to approve PC Development Plan 2026-003 with the 3 staff provided conditions.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Final discussion, I guess?
No, I'm good on it.
Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you, guys. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, no, we're good. Item number 2, 1000 West Auburn Drive rezoning. This is PC zoning 2026-3. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and turn it over to the staff for the staff report.
Thank you. Chris Horton, representing Horton Holdings LLC, the property owner, is requesting to reclassify the zoning of what's known as lots 1 through 12 of Lot 9 in the Aubrey Coleman addition to the city of Auburn, which also includes the east half of what's vacated Hazel Street adjacent to the lots. Request is to rezone the property from currently R3, which is high density single family residential, to our I1 district, which is light industrial high tech. This rezoning required public hearing advertised on May 27th. There were 11 adjacent property owners provided direct mailing. The proposed area, you can scroll back just a second, as proposed for, that I talked about the lots, is this area. Again, it's between Auburn Drive and DeKalb Avenue. It is to the west of Dallas Street. The property itself directly, all the lots are zoned R3. Property to the north and to the east is also R3. At the corner of Dallas and Auburn Drive is a C1 property, neighborhood commercial zoning. And then to the south and to the west is I1. The main Auburn manufacturing building property itself is zoned I1. I did include the Auburn snippet from the Auburn 2040 plan, which is the future land use plan. The important component of any rezoning request is to review what does the Auburn 2040 plan show, and it does designate the appropriate future use of the property as employment center use, which is light industrial. And it would be just this block of these proposed lots for rezoning. A property that's on the east side of Dallas, north side of DeKalb is reflected as residential in the 2040 plan. Photographs of the property, I'm sure we've all been by it, very familiar with this. well maintained by Auburn Manufacturing. It's basically just a large green field area. Took a few photographs. This does show the commercial business at the corner of Dallas and Auburn Drive. That's actually a view that from one of the screen of what would be vacated Hazel Street area. The project advisory committee did review discuss the application at its June 4th meeting. We have had several people contact the department requesting information about the request, and most recently as this afternoon. So there have been several individuals that have at least inquired about the request or shared a concern with the request. The lots themselves that are part of this rezoning request, they've been established since 1914. I've been doing research. It looks like back in '67, the properties I could find where they were sold. L1, which was light industrial, and the zoning of light industrial stayed on these lots with these lots since 1989. Just to back up, clearly these lots were part of that Coleman addition. They were intended to be residential lots. This was going way back with the beginning. But at some point in time, again, the property obtained the light industrial zoning. It's had that zoning from '67 until '89. In '89, the city went through a process where we created a new zoning code for the city and an entirely new zoning map for the city. It was at that time that the subject property was rezoned to R2, which under that old code was single family. Later that same year, in 1989, the City Planning Commission came forward and reclassified the zoning to R3. The R3 at that time was multifamily residential. It retained that zoning classification until the UDO was adopted in 2019, and the map that went along with the UDO changed the zoning of that property to R3, but it was under the UDO, R3 is now single-family residential. High density, but single-family residential. So that's the current zoning of the property that's proposed for the rezoning. I did provide the development standards for both the current zoning of R3 and as well as the light industrial district, VI1. Certainly VI1 has much higher setback standards than the R3 for buildings and other requirements. I've also provided what uses are allowed within the I1. So the I1 district is a light industrial zoning classification, so it's for industrial. It's not for processing of raw materials. That's more of I2, a heavy industrial zoning district. But certainly manufacturing within indoor environments, warehousing, storage, all permitted uses within the I1 zoning district. In talking with the property owner, the reason for the rezoning request, and he'll be able to clarify this or expand upon this, but it's really he wanted consistent zoning over the entire property. So he has a main manufacturing facility, a property he owns that's zoned I1, yet he also has these lots attached to it that he owns that are R1. And I think it has created in documentation that I've seen some issues specifically on financing of the property, the loans for the property, where you have residential component part of a larger overall industrial property, and it definitely has created some issues for him. And I think having the consistent zoning does enable more options, specifically for if you were thinking of selling the property. Just have that consistency, and it removes the question of what are these lots zoned residential that are attached to my property that I would own. So I think he's trying to address that concern. In looking at these lots, again, they're platted single-family lots. So I wanted to point out that technically most of those lots are buildable today. So somebody could come in and buy one of those lots and construct a home on that lot. Now, they still need to meet setback requirements, which is 25 foot off the road, 5 foot side yard. So you're probably talking shotgun style houses, but it is certainly doable. Or they could buy 2 lots, cross a lot line with the home, or they could buy all the lots and build one home. My point being is that most of the lots, if the lot has frontage on a public street, whether it's DeKalb, Dallas, or Auburn Drive, they are buildable today. There's only the lots 8 through 11, which are interior, don't have any frontage on the street because the city vacated Hazel Street. So those are not buildable by themselves. They could be combined with another lot if somebody wanted to. But I just wanted to point that out, that they certainly are buildable today under our code. And one thing that I didn't mention here that I do, under the rezoning, I identified that the setbacks are much greater within the I-1 zoning district. But if it is rezoned to I-1, even with those setbacks, there is buildable area. And when I drew it out, calculated it out, you can get about a 150 by 200 foot building on the property, and still meet setbacks. We have the 100-foot setbacks, which sounds like a lot, but there's also what we refer to as an average building setback. So the current building is closer to 70 feet, and the other building's further to the west as far as averaging it out. He wouldn't have to maintain a 100-foot setback. It probably would be more between 70 and 80 foot off of Auburn Drive. And he would be able to go the same off of Cal. He would have to maintain a 100-foot setback to go off of Dallas. And the point being is that if it is rezoned, it does become a buildable property. One thing that's not shown in the maps is that it would not be easily be able to have an addition to the building. There's a significant storm sewer and sanitary sewer main going between where the existing building is and these lots, basically the Hazel Street right-of-way area. Nothing's impossible. We'd have to relocate some major significant improvements to make it an addition. So we're probably talking about if something were ever to be built here, it would be something detached from the main manufacturing building. It could be a storage building, it could be a small manufacturing building. That's what would be allowed on the property. Just to comment, again, I've already mentioned the commercial building there on Dallas and Auburn. That's the Styles Beyond Salon. We have a couple of, we have a single family home there along Dallas Street, as well as a two-family residence at the corner of Dallas and DeKalb. Then there's a couple of single family homes on the north side of DeKalb Avenue, as well as a couple of storage buildings that exist. So it's a little bit of a mixed area within the neighborhood. I mentioned Hazel Street, that was vacated back in 1989. And so that right of way no longer exists. So with that, staff looks to the, again, our recommendation based upon the 2040 plan, it identifies the appropriate future land use as industrial. We didn't zone it that way, which is fine. It's, like I said, it's currently buildable as residential, but the request to reclassify the zoning complies with the 2040 plan, and that's the important part that I wanted to make. That those development standards is going to control and dictate what can be built here. So the use table dictates what can be done in the building, but those setback standards still have to be met, lot coverage has to be met, parking, access, and anything that would be built there has to come back to the planning commission to develop a plan. So that's the other important aspect of it. So we'll know better if something is proposed, what would happen there. So staff is recommending the commission forward this to the common council with a favorable recommendation. If findings of fact not required, that there are factors for you to pay reasonable regard to when you consider rezoning. That concludes staff report.
Thank you. Any questions for the staff?
So Jim, is it zoned R3 right now? What uses can you put on it right now?
Just single family homes. So it could be a single family detached home, it could be a manufactured home, because those are treated the same as a single family site built home. That's really it. It's just residential use.
Okay.
Detached single family.
The lots, about 45, 46 feet wide. You said, what are
I
the
think they're 50 foot, I believe.
50 feet? What's the setbacks from the
About
side?
5 foot on the side, so you can have a 40-foot wide
40.
home technically.
Okay.
Any home that would be built there would have to have a one-car garage, part of that.
Okay.
So likely, if somebody were to, it's possible to put them on 50-foot lots, but more than likely, somebody could buy two and have a little bit of road to work with.
Okay, so with that size of a lot, you're looking at small house, manufactured house,
Yes,
not trailers,
not trailers,
It's not-
manufactured,
but yeah.
modular.
modular house, manufactured. Okay.
Any further questions? Thank you. We may call you back up. Would anybody on the petitioner's behalf like to come and speak to the rezoning?
I didn't realize, my name is Chris Gordon, you know, I didn't realize I had to convince 11 people to commission this. This property is discombobulated. It's got a lot of things going on. It's not as simple as looking at 12 lots. It goes back to the last expansion actually encroached into part of that subdivision that's previously platted with these lots. That's one thing. Secondly, in order to purchase that property, I had to convince SBA, it's a loan authorization, to convince them that I'm not in the real estate business. They're not in the real estate business. I'm in the manufacturing business. I did get approval, which I think was in your packet. I did get approval from the SBA that they agreed that it's an integral portion of the 1,000 drive property. And the basis of that was I secured a survey by Foresight. And what came out in the Foresight, besides the fact that it was an integral part of the building, is that I did not know at the time, but the Hazel Drive and the alley between those 12 lots have been vacated by the city. So that was one step. And then the other thing that came out was that, yes, I wanted to be consistent with the main property. That came out was a setback. They said, Chris, you have to have a 100-foot setback on each. And so that was in consideration. And their conclusion on that, if I may read, was that as a result of the vacation of the platted public right-of-ways within the adjacent to the lots in question, the ability to access and develop individual lots by a prospective purchaser is severely limited and essentially impractical at this point. And if you do, when you add up there's 21 parcels in this. Of the 21, 19 are 30% plus or minus of the property. And of that 19 parcels, some are residential, some of them are light industrial. It's a mixed bag. But if you add it all up and you look at what you've got, you have a very limited for housing. You might get 1 or 2 homes out of it. And be consistent with the majority of the property, consistent with the setback. And the fact that it's been vacated for any kind of residential, it concludes that I'd like to get it cleaned up once and for all. I've got 21 parcels I gotta pay every year, and it's on 30%, 19 of them are in that small area. And the thing that also that came up in the purchase of this, we had a IDM covenant not to sue. And in that, their summary of that project summary on page 1 and 2, under the environmental restrictive covenants, ERCs, for use restrictions, it says the owner shall not use the real estate for residential purposes. And that was in the covenant. And so, you add all these things together, I tell you, there's nice pictures in the line, you gotta take them. But it's a mess right now. And what I want to do is I want to get it remapped into 3 parcels. And I want to clean up the majority, the 19. I mean, there's a sliver here, there's a sliver there, and it's not a pretty sight. but you add it all up, it just doesn't really indicate to be residential.
Any questions for petitioner?
So Chris, reiterate that again. So you're saying that there is a restricted covenant in place right now that prohibits residential
My
use?
understanding is, when I purchase it, there's a covenant not to sue. And part of that covenant is the environmental certificate of completion voluntary remediation program. And the summary of that, on Exhibit 1 project summary, is on the second page. It says the owner shall not use the real estate for residential purposes. End of story.
It's pretty clear.
And, but, I mean, it was back in, what was it, 1967, did you mention, Jim? It was R1, which is what it should have been. But then there's been an expansion in 74 and 84, in 1988, there was another expansion, and it encroached into the previously plotted, well, a portion, not all of it, of the original plotted subdivision. And then the city says, hey, we're gonna vacate because it's just not practical for residential. And then you get a surveyor who says, Chris, it says, when it's all said and done, between the setbacks and what you've got in the encroachment, the inner part of the property, you really don't have much left for any kind of significant home that I would be proud to build. And then on top of it off is that the IDM comes and said, hey, I can't use it for residential.
Just to change what you said there for a
I'm
second.
sorry?
You said R1, it was in 67, L1. Light industrial, it was not R1. Yeah, not R1. Yeah, R1 would be residential. That's what you stated. I just wanted to clarify it was L1. Correct. Sorry,
That's what I understand.
yep, I interrupted another question.
So that, you said that was an IDEM report?
I'm sorry.
That was an IDEM report
Yes.
that you're referring
Yes.
to? Okay.
You're welcome.
No, I just, that's an Indiana, what's it?
Indiana Department of Environmental
Environmental.
Management.
But it all started with the SBA authorization. And I had to convince them, and they're not easy to work with, to say the least. I had to convince them, I'm not in the real estate business. I'm purchasing this because I want to be in the manufacturing. He said, well, we don't finance real estate property. And then when you get into the weeds, if you will, in this case, the grass, that's what came out of it. They've approved it. Property was vacated. But one of the expansions in 1988 was built on some of the previously platted lots. Setbacks, you don't have much left. And I want to clean it up.
Gotcha. Any further questions for the petitioner?
So if you get this rezoned, what's your plan? Are you going to develop it?
I mean, who's that?
Me, over here?
What now?
So if you get this rezoned, what is your plan?
Long term, I would like to see that probably would stay industrial, and it might be coming, some kind of light industrial. I mean, I don't have any definitive plans.
No plan, okay.
But, every time you go through this, the purchases, like you've got this residential platted, and I go, well, you go through the story and then it's, oh, okay. And it first started with the SBA. But yeah, it cleaned it up. Right now, I like to pay 3 bills instead of 19. But that's not the reason why I want to do it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Any further questions? All right, we may call you back up if other questions arise.
Okay.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the public at this point. So would anybody from the public like to come up and speak? Again, please state your name and address. And then again, time-wise, let's try to keep it to 3 minutes or so.
I will. Take longer not to get up here.
Good.
Just had a knee injury. I like their pictures and everything. Mine aren't as fancy. I just wanted to show you. My name's Mary Jo Levy, L-A-V-Y. I live at 702 DeKalb Avenue. My front yard faces this lot. I've lived there 36 years. I bought it when it was brand new. This is my neighborhood. This is the lot they're talking about, and he does keep it really nice. And this is me taking pictures from the lot here. And then these are just pictures of my neighborhood and my front yard and how nice it looks now, where nobody's going to see it if they put a big building there. Well, anyway, this restricted covenant that he talked about, I actually have a copy of it, and I have a petition opposing the rezoning. And I'll give you this, and I have a few documents that I've been able to pull offline about the restrictive covenant and what it's about. And I'll just give these copies. Can I do that?
Sure. I don't know how many you have.
The petition has more than 60 names on it opposing the rezoning, and most of them are from the immediate neighborhood that I showed you, and that, you know, all around there, all 3 of those blocks, I got people signed from every single house. And I wrote a little speech or whatever, but okay, so we're asking you not to vote for this rezoning, and I circulated a petition. While researching the property after receiving notice of the application to rezone, I discovered there's an environmental restricted covenant attached to the deed since 2011. I think they said that they rezoned it residential in '89. Did they say that? Because in 1989 is when they found there were chemicals in the soil and the subsoil and the groundwater. And because of that, we're opposing this rezoning to protect our families from environmental health and safety risks tied directly to the soil. As you guys may or may not be aware, the site at 1000 Drive carries a heavy industrial footprint. According to official Indiana Department of Environmental Management records, the property is registered under the VRP project number 6931001. State data explicitly shows a documented history of hazardous chemical contamination at this site, specifically industrial solvents affecting the surface soil, subsurface soil, and the groundwater. Because of this hazardous history, this neighborhood has serious concerns about its rezoning. Rezoning this residential lots to light industrial opens the door for commercial development, which requires heavy digging for deeper foundations, commercial parking lots, and commercial utility lines, excavating soil that the state has flagged for solvent contamination, risks stirring up historical toxins directly next to our homes. Chemical solvents in the groundwater can create toxic vapors that rise through the soil. If this site is commercialized, what recent testing has been done to prove the vapor intrusion will not migrate into our residential yards or affect our indoor air quality? Chemical solvents, I already read that. A yes vote tonight gives the developer a blank check to bring commercial traffic, heavy excavation, and unknown businesses onto a recovery environmental cleanup site. Therefore, I feel the safest and responsible use for this land is to keep it zoned exactly as it is residential. There was an application filed back in 2005 or 2006 trying to get it rezoned to light industrial at the time to build a body shop there. We petitioned that as well. The point I'm making is we never heard about any of these chemicals or any of this environmental contamination during that whole thing. So I'm hoping that you guys could put in the public record of this meeting that project number, which is 6931001, put it in the official record, and please vote no for this rezoning for that reason, because there are still chemicals in that ground, and that's why they've got the restricted covenant. They've cleaned it up through the years and got them lowered, but they're still there. And so to build or anything on that lot, you could stir up the chemicals, the subsoil, the groundwater. It's just, I think it's a danger for not just our community, but Auburn's community and our beautiful neighborhood. And I think that's that in a nutshell.
Thank you. I have
These copies.
I have a question for the assistant city attorney here. With a restricted covenant like this, I don't have it. She says she has it. If we rezone this, it would still follow the property, correct? Okay. That would still follow the property, even if it's rezoned, correct?
Yeah, yes, it does run with the property, yes.
So if it says do not put, shouldn't put residential there, something would still need to happen for any construction to be there, correct? Or,
Can I make a clarification?
sure, yes.
Because I think
Because
we're,
I'm not
yeah, we're
privy to
mixing a
that.
few things here. So yeah, we have the IDEM report. It was recorded. There's been remediation. What's important about this whole IDEM report is what property is it specific to. So it provides a very specific legal description. It is legal description of the manufacturing building property. It is not part of the 12 lots that are proposed for rezoning. That was never contaminated. According to the report, the contamination was in the southwest corner of the industrial building. That has been remediated. So when we read that residential is not allowed on the legal description for the property, which is the industrial building. It does not, the IDEM report does not pertain to the 12 lots. It's not included with the legal descriptions. That makes sense. Just in looking
Yes.
at the details of the weeds, I just wanted to clarify that. But yeah, the covenants do apply, and no residential use applies to the main industrial building property,
But not these 12
but not these
current
12
lots
lots.
or the one, okay, thank you.
This restricted covenant covers all the real estate. Yeah. as
It
a
does
whole.
not.
Not the way it's written with the legal description in the
Yeah.
covenant.
Well, you might want to research a little bit more because I'm not really sure myself. I just know that it's really scary that there are chemicals. And yeah, the majority of them are in the southwest corner. But they had chemicals in other areas that they actually were able to get rid of, but that which left that southwest as the area that they could never get the chemicals.
And you did say they went through remediation and that's taken care of, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know they had a remediation cleanup, and that's why at the end of that, they put this covenant, restricted covenant on it,
On the other properties,
on the whole property as a whole.
not as terms of what they're saying. So
Will follow.
I get it. Thank you. I want to give other people an opportunity to
Sure.
speak as well. So thank you very much. Would anybody else from the public like to come and speak on or against? Please come up, state your name and address.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Wolgert. My wife and I, Sierra, both go to 705 Elm Avenue, which is just about a block north. You can see it on the map there. And I just want to start off by saying that I personally oppose the rezoning for this because, one, there is concern of potential chemicals in the ground. If there is anything that gets stirred up in there, we've got a bunch of kids that play around. We've got people that walk their dogs. We've got folks that got COPD. I've got asthma. Like, I don't really want to have any health threats, the potential from rezoning that for further development. Rezoning for commercial use would also no doubt increase traffic in the area. It's a slow area. It's nice to have folks outside, be able to see your neighbors and everything. And I don't want to lose folks to the higher traffic area there. Children play outside. Many of us are pet owners, and folks frequently take walks around the block to exercise. The increased traffic would no doubt increase the possibility for injury for all of those parties. There's no truck signs that are already there that aren't always listened to, and that have divots in their yards that are from trucks who can't turn around. So it's a very quiet and peaceful neighborhood, and I'd really like to keep it that way, and I think most of us there would. We care for our homes. We love and take pride in the little community we've got, and any kind of business going in that small plot of peaceful area would greatly alter the characteristics of the land. The other thing I'm concerned about in general is just property valuation. As commercial goes in, it's going to make our property value go down. And I don't really want to see that. I mean, it's not a positive for us homeowners there. The existing area is beautiful. I love it. It's open and we can see just some grassland. Having more buildings just kind of in the way, it would be frankly an eyesore. But also, I think it helps keep a peaceful area for kids to play in from time to time. But the health concerns, if they are there, the biggest thing that I have issue with, I don't really want anything being brought into our homes that could cause any further damage. And so I do request that you vote no.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak on or against the project? Sure, let's get one more question and then, let's go ahead and have you give the reply. Hold on. If you want to reply specifically to that one, please come up and make a quick rebuttal.
Yeah.
I had something I was going to reply as well, but I was going to wait till the end.
I'm hearing a lot about this remediation that took place. And exactly my reason why it's not inhabitable for residential. For what the reasons that they're bringing up. You don't want to disturb that. It's been remediated, but I don't want to play around with that as a residential. And that's why they put it in covenant. It can't be for residential.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and come on back up.
Hello, my name is Kenneth Heights. I live at 619 DeKalb Avenue, just right down the street. We already have issues with semi-traffic there. And if we have more industry, it just increases that semi-traffic flow. Plus, if we have another factory come in, our water and electricity will go up. That's all I have to say.
Any further discussion? I'm sorry, any further comments from the, oh, okay, you can give them to her. Yep.
Hello, my name's Neil Jewell. I live at 707 Helen Avenue, pretty close to Ryan there. I am against this rezoning. We do have chemicals. When I lived at that house for 21 years. And when we purchased the house in 2006, we had to have our house mitigated for radon. So, and I am one of those people that takes the walk around the block with my dogs, and with more traffic from the semis, it would be very unsafe. We have kids riding their bikes there, and there are signs that says no through trucks, and yet they still go. And sometimes even workers from the 1061 Black Shadow, who probably wants to buy that land and build on to their establishment there, and that's an asphalt company. And their stuff smells horrible, and they're loud, and at times when the wind picks up just right, we can smell that for a long time. And I would rather not see that rezoned to where Black Shadow can build on to their establishment.
Anyone else from the public like to come to speak? Come on up.
My name is Dave Weinbrenner. I live in Matthew Cove. I'm not an immediate resident of the area. I am representing my wife and my son on this issue. We have an invested interest in ownership in 1810 and 1812 Dallas Street. Our property is directly east of the Horton Holdings LLC vacant R3 zone property. The entire neighborhood is directly affected by today's request to rezone. Over 43 immediate neighbors close to the area have signed a circulated petition to stop the rezoning application. While the southwest area does include some light industrial zoning as noted, when light industrial zoning is put in place on a vacant lot, what's gonna happen to it. We don't have that answer. Will their property values go down for the residents? Past history says yes. This same type of rezoning request came up over 16, 18 years ago. Another company wanted to rezone that area from R3 to commercial. Luckily, the neighbors rallied together and got the rezoning request denied. Now again, it's time to deny the rezoning application as it has no merit for this now or later. Thank you.
I have a quick question. Do you have any data to support your saying that the property values go down? I have heard that time and time again, yet I have never seen any data provided.
Well, Jim, come on.
I'm just asking. So no?
Today with me, no.
Okay.
But if your house is listed, your house where you're at, right next door to the Auburn boundary, for example, when it was in existence, you had a lower property value. If you live 3-5 blocks away, it's just a given. Anytime you're close to a commercial stuff, residential value is down. It leads to just lower valuation.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to come and speak? Anyone else? I got a question. Does it need to be in the public hearing or after? No, I close it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead. If no one else wants to come up and speak, go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission for further discussion.
Yeah, I've got a question. I just want to make sure whether we keep it R3 or zone it to I2 or I1. They could still build on it. Is that correct? You could still put a structure on that property regardless of the zoning decision?
Yes, so under the current zoning, as I mentioned, you could build single-family residence on the A lot, combination of lots. If we reclassify the zoning to I1, there will be a buildable portion of that property for a building to house an I1 use.
Yeah, so it's basically just a different use, but a building could still go on that site.
Yes, a building or buildings,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. And then the other question is, the item report did state that those parcels, that lot we're considering today, was not contaminated. Is that correct?
Well, the IDEM report was again based upon a property that had a specific legal
Yes.
description.
Yep.
The specific legal description did not include the 12 lots that are part of the request this evening. So it didn't address contamination, cleanup, or anything because it wasn't part
Okay,
of
so they didn't
that.
look at that section. They just looked at.
They were
where
looking
the
at the
building-
main industrial building, and there was contamination there. It was remediated, and then they placed a covenant on that property, but not the 12 lots.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. That's the way I read it. So
I'm curious about what caused the contamination. What was there before?
don't know that. I mean, it was chemicals. I don't know the specifics without getting back into the report. But
Was there a building there?
yeah, there was
yeah,
a manufacturing building there.
That's gone now.
No, the
No.
building is still there.
That building is still there. So that contamination came
We'll let
from,
the owner speak.
Yeah, we'll let him clarify.
okay.
My understanding, okay, is this goes back to the time when it was Essex. And they were using solvents and the way they disposed of it. And then United Technologies wanted to purchase it and they couldn't because they found a contamination. And from the Indiana, they said, hey, Covenant Up, you have done what you needed to do to remediate it, you completed it. However, there's these restrictions. And it's half and half. You know, how much do you want it? It's for residential, knowing that you have that. And, I think they built the case that you really don't want to put homes on that. And it's, like I said, right now, it's already encroached into the plotted, some of the plotted previously of that subdivision. And then the city comes along and says, we're going to vacate that. Well, why are they vacated? They vacated because we're not gonna put houses on it. But yet the map still shows that it's our residential. So I'm sort of no man's land here.
Right, we got,
Hey, I've got 19 parcels, and half of them are light industrial, and most of them, a lot of them, half and half is residential.
yeah, we're repeating the same arguments. We understand that. Is there any further
Yeah,
question?
no, the only thing I wanted is clarity, because we've heard three different versions, and you're unfortunately also echoing the same that's in conflict with what the report's identifying is. The covenants aren't imposed on these 12 lots. They're imposed on an alternative section of that.
My understanding, okay, from what I have in my possession, that it applies to the property of 1,000 Auburn Drive. And that real estate is part of 1,000 Auburn Drive.
Okay.
Okay. Public hearing's closed. That was just clarification. Any further discussion? I mean, as of right now, there's no plans to build anything on the site. It's more of a cleanup to get fewer bills, other things, and get it around.
Maybe
I
explain.
get everybody's concern. I just, is there any more?
It might be helpful to explain what we look at as the city and the board for spot zoning and how this is not that.
Can you scroll to the zoning map?
The good thing is it is
So
comply with the 2040 plan.
Yeah.
when you look at spot zoning, you take a zoning district that is isolated by itself with nothing around it that matches that zoning. That C1 zoning meets the terminology of spot zoning. When you take the red, when you take the request this evening, it's already I-1 to the west and to the south. So we're extending the boundary north and east. That is not fit what people call spot zoning. And plus, and the other part of spot zoning is it's not compatible with what we call the future land use map. In this case, it is compatible with the future land use map.
Jim, I have a question. If it would get rezoned, so the entire piece of property would be light industrial, once there is a project proposed for that lot, would there then be a meeting where that project would have to get approved?
Yes, there
So
would.
at that time, the neighbors could all see what's proposed to go in there and have comments about something real instead of imagined.
That is correct. Yeah. So the new building upon the area we're talking about this evening would trigger a development plan requirement, which is a public hearing process back in front of this board. So that's where they have to come in and show the specific plans for the property. Where's the building going? Setbacks, access, parking, the architecture of the building. They have to show all those details, just like we saw with the NatMis building. That is required.
Thank you.
I got a question for Jim. So it sounds like he's got multiple parcels, tax parcels, and it sounds like you would be interested in combining tax parcels. Can he combine tax parcels that are zoned differently, or would they need to all be in the same zone? I don't know that.
You could combine if it's different zoning. I know we recently did that. The county recently allowed that, somebody to combine lots that actually had two different zoning designations. If there's different land use designations, such as, we have the industrial land use, and then we have vacant. I wouldn't want to answer. I don't know for sure that you can combine that. Certainly, if these are rezoned to industrial, he can combine all the industrial lots into one for tax purpose, tax ID purposes.
And that might be something you'd be interested in doing if all the property was zoned the same, combine all those tax parcels into one parcel, eliminates the multiple.
when we talk about the 12 lots. This is Hazel, which was vacated, okay, by the city, which wipes out the frontage for these lots here. Also, in addition, was this alley was vacated. So you've lost that. Okay, now you look at the survey, which they say it's 100 feet setback. Now you've eliminated this, you've eliminated the front of that, you eliminated that. You're down to basically 2 lots.
Mm-hmm.
When it's all said and done. So when you say, hey, that's for 12 lots, it's not. You're really getting down to 2. Between the setback here and the back, the setback here and the front, and then the vacated alley, you're really down to that. And this portion here is in the original plat of the subdivision. So it's just tiny. It doesn't look as clean as it appears.
So just to clarify though, with the 100-foot setback, you said the average though of the other would be about 75, so 70, 75. It wouldn't quite be the 100.
That's right. That's under the industrial zoning.
Right, I think it's
Residential
changed.
zoning has a much less setback, so you can build more than 2 homes on all that acreage.
Right. But if it got rezoned industrial, that's when it shortens up the area that's buildable.
It
by
does.
immensely. It takes out to 8 of the 12 properties basically.
You look
So
at
it's
the,
very little.
yeah, I still think you could fit a fairly good sized building because again, the setbacks won't be 100. They will be reduced between 70 and 80 foot off of DeKalb and off of Auburn. You still have 100 off of Dallas, but you can still within that and stay out of where the utilities are, put a decent sized building or buildings.
Okay, and as it's zoned right now, and by your understanding what IDEM said, we can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 manufactured houses on it right now.
It's possible. Yes. You certainly, the use would be allowed, and with the setbacks, you would be able to fit multiple residences there. Yes.
And with any development plan that comes before it, whether it be residential or industrial, it triggers all routing, which includes county water and soil and all of the other associated departments that or committees that need to review it.
Is that true? Because it's platted lots right now for residential?
Or not for residential, sorry, for industrial.
For industrial, yes. For residential, no. It's more of an internal review. Unless somebody wanted to come in and replat the lots, then.
So safety was the predominant concern. Being industrial actually offers them another layer of protection to identify and mitigate risk as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Any further discussion? A rezoning does not have findings of facts. However, on the last page, if you can scroll down to the last page, we do have these considerations, these 5 considerations that we need to take into account. So please briefly review those. And at this point, if there's no more discussion, we will need a motion to forward this to council. Now, there are 3 options. It's got to go to council no matter what. It's got to be a favorable recommendation, unfavorable, or no recommendation. Okay, so at this point, we need a motion to forward that one of those 3 different ways to the council.
I would move to forward a favorable recommendation for PC zoning 2026-003 to council.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? We'll try this as roll call or as a voice vote. We'll just see how it goes here. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It was unanimous. Okay, on to the remaining 2 items underneath new business. These are both for North Point. The first is a rezoning. The second is a primary plat. So I will go ahead and open the public hearing for PC zoning 2026-4. and turn it over to the staff for the staff report.
Thank you. Rudy Ida, who's representing the property owner, which is A6 Properties LLC. They are requesting to reclassify the zoning of a 40-acre tract of land. It's located north of Morningstar Road, east of Main Street. It's actually north of the Bridgewater North subdivision. Requesting to change the zoning from currently it's a split zoning. Part of it's zoned agricultural under the city, and a larger part of the property is actually under county zoning jurisdiction. It's zoned R2, which is medium family residential. So they're requesting to reclassify the zoning of the entire property to the city district, which is R2, medium density, single family residential. Rezoning request requires public hearing advertised in the Star on May 27th. There were 14 adjacent property owners given notice. The property is highlighted in the yellow, and you can see on the zoning map here, the green portion of the lot is in city jurisdiction. So the property is not within the corporate limits of the city right now. It's an unincorporated county. And when you're adjacent to the city limits, in this example here, 300-foot path or swath of land is in what's the ETJ area of the city, and currently it's zoned agricultural. The whole area there was zoned agricultural back in the day, and as development occurred, it has changed its zoning classification. So this is kind of a remnant of days of yesterday, if you would. A county that has all that area that you see in blue, that's actually zoned R2 within the county. The property owner has filed a petition for voluntary annexation of this 40-acre tract. And so with that, and with the next item of your agenda, and with their request for rezoning, the entire property can fall under the city zoning. So any property owner in the county, when you're adjacent to the city, you can request for your property be in the ETJ. And then have city zoning classification. So in essence, that's what they've done. Even if the annexation doesn't go through, we as a city can still have city zoning over the entire 40 acres. As you see the adjacent zoning, the subdivisions, both to the west, to the south, are zoned R1, and then we have some R2 property, which is the larger undeveloped tract to the west. The future land use plan, the 2040 plan, does designate residential as the appropriate use for this property moving forward. A few photographs of the property. Right now, Approach Drive in the subdivision does dead end to the north. So you see the dead end of the street. This is showing the property is divided very heavily wooded on the east and tillable land on the west. That's a good picture. Approach Drive would actually go right along that trail line from the subdivision. That tree line, I'm sorry. Aerial photograph probably actually shows it best. That is the 40-acre tract of land. Again, adjacent to the existing subdivisions, both to the south and to the west, and then wooded land, a lot of wetland in the area, floodplain to the north and to the east. So Project Advisory did discuss the rezoning application back at its June 4th meeting. We've received at least 4 inquiries. A couple today actually came in. When we post the public notice sign, that does draw a lot of attention. People asking what's going on, and that's what they call it, which is what we want. We want people to know what's happening in their neighborhood. So most of there hasn't been an objection listed to me. There have been concerns, and then there's just been an interest in what's happening there. The next item on your agenda shows a more detailed plan, and that's what I've been showing anybody interested in the project. So again, I mentioned the voluntary annexation petition will be brought forward to council at its next meeting. And again, the jurisdiction of the 300-foot swath of land is currently in the ETJ area of the city. What I do note that and I already mentioned that the annexation of the property does not change zoning when you annex it. It always retains the zoning that it had. The only way you can change zoning is through this public hearing process. And so that's why we're going through this process and trying to establish the zoning as R2, which then would allow a residential subdivision to be built there. One thing to note, I mentioned that you can actually see it here in the city zoning. The Bridgewater subdivision is zoned R1. There are a number of lots within that subdivision that are non-conforming, meaning they do not comply with the R1 standards. Really should have been R2. The other section of Bridgewater North that's further to the east does have R2 zoning because it was identified that they wanted to have the lots match the lots there from Bridgewater North 1. They didn't meet the requirements of R1, so they came in, if you recall, and rezoned that area to R2. Again, a lot of the lots still meet the requirement, but there's also a considerable number that are non-conforming because they don't have the lot width of R1, which is 100 feet, or the lot size. And so that's I just want to mention that. I mean, it's R1, but it really should be R2. So the lots are not considered non-conforming. The standards for the R2 I provided here. So the standards would be the 10,000 square foot minimum lot and a 60-foot minimum lot width. The setbacks that apply to the R2. Again, this is a single-family residential subdivision that allows single-family residences. I just identified in the rezoning, this was filed also coincident with the subdivision North Point proposal, just for reference purposes. And again, the whole purpose for this reclassification of zoning is to develop the property as a new single-family residential subdivision. So with staff recommendation, again, the future land use plan map, the 2040 plan designates the property as appropriate for residential. So it is a logical extension of the city and its residential developments. And it is appropriate use for the property. And staff does recommend that you forward a favorable recommendation on this rezoning request to the common council. Staff report.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions for the staff? Okay, thank you. Might call you back up. Would someone on behalf of the petitioner like to come forward and speak to the project? Please come forward, state your name.
I am Amy Schweitzer. I am with Big Six Properties. You're going to meet me tonight, not Rudy. So it's a pretty straightforward request rezoning to R2 so that we can continue Bridgewater North Section 1, similar development there. So,
Question for the petitioner?
thank you.
Okay, thank you. We may call you back if there's questions. Anybody in the audience like to come up and speak on or against the project? The zoning. Yeah, sorry, not the project yet. Yeah, the second one's the development plan. Sorry, just the rezoning. Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission for discussion. Any further discussion?
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, she's already flipped to the back page. I was going to tell her to do that, but we've got the 5 considerations again. These are not findings of facts. I think it fits pretty well with the surrounding area. So again, we need to make a motion to either forward this with a favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation to the council. There's no findings of fact. It's the 5 considerations. Yep.
Move to forward PC zoning 2026-004 with a favorable recommendation to council.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, on to the primary plat, PC primary plat 2026-2. Go ahead and open the public hearing and turn over The floor to the staff of the North Point Primary Plat.
Thank you, sir. Again, the property, with the application, same applicant, same property owner. We did advertise the public hearing for the primary plat on May 27th, 14 adjacent property owners notified. Skip through most of the report, specifically get into the details of the proposed subdivision. North Point, the development did go through routing committee, several reviews. And you'll see the comments there. There's still a change that needs to be made with the legal description on the primary plat that is being worked on. And it's one of the routing comments that I do identify as a condition to comply with that address the routing comments. Project advisory met back on June 4th to review this application. Again, we've had a number of residents inquire about the subdivision and just wanting to know what would be proposed. With the primary plat, the applications were filed coincident with one another, but you also see a condition that the rezoning of the property to R2 does need to occur for the primary plat if you make a decision to be effective. So we do have to make it subject to rezoning because the proposed primary plat does not comply with current zoning. I mentioned, the development standards for the R2, so all the lots meet the lot area, the lot width requirements, and then there would be the applicable setbacks for any new home in the R2. There are utilities, water, sewer, are currently along Approach Drive to the dead end of Approach Drive. Those will be continued to the north to serve the property. There's electric available to provide electric service to the site. The wetlands is a factor on this development of this property. You see the map identifies the wetland area. The primary plat clearly shows that wetland boundary on the plat, so it demarcates basically an untouchable area. So no development can occur within that wetland area, no excavation can occur within that wetland area. For stormwater control, there's currently a county drain that crosses through the property. So if you see on the drawing, it's faked, but there's a gassy blue line. That is a current tile that goes through the property. It has previously been relocated as part of subdivision development, both for Bridgewater and for Greenhurst Glens. This development will also propose to realign that drain to go along their west and their south property line. That will require drainage board approval. That has not gone through that process yet, but that'll be an important step when we get to infrastructure plans. They do propose to construct a detention pond in the southeast corner of the subdivision. It's a heavily wooded area right now, so you will have to be tree removal for this, but that's the most logical place for a detention basin for the subdivision. The county drain will not go into the detention basin. It gets bypassed, but all the stormwater from the development, from the roads, rooftops, will be directed to the new detention basin, which will then release water to that county tile. There are open space requirements for this subdivision, which are exceeded because of the common areas that they're providing. They're over 33% of the sites in permanent open space. There is a requirement in the UDO for connectivity, and this is so we don't have just isolated properties, one way in, one way out, if you would. There is a connectivity index. This proposed primary plat does not provide all the connectivity requirements that are necessary. It does fall below the UDO requirements. The connectivity that they're proposing, of course, Approach Drive to the south is the main and the only access to the property additionally. They will be proposing a east-west access that will provide future access to land, basically farmland right now, that is to the east of the property. So that would be their future connection, just like Bridgewater provided a connection to the north and to To the west, they're providing the connection to the east. You can't go west on this subdivision to Greenhurst. There's no access there to get to. Property to the north is not quite visible. This is an illustration the applicant provided. You can see the wetland areas exist to the north and really limits any potential to get access out to the county road to the north. So really the only place to go is to the east. There's a little bit of common property line between a very large tract that the applicant owns, undeveloped south of Greenhurst Glens, but it's not enough to have a street in there. And so there's not enough right of way width to make a connection through there. So they really only have the one option. But again, they do not comply with that requirement, and the UDO specifically allows the planning commission to, in essence, grant a waiver to consider what are the factors, what other development around it prevents connectivity, are there environmental, are there topographic issues? I think that's what staff is looking at, and I think the city is looking at as far as they're providing connectivity as much as they can. There's also a component of pedestrian connectivity that can be part of that discussion as well. And I know with the information documentation the applicant submitted talking about pedestrian connectivity options. Certainly the sidewalk connectivity to the south into Bridgewater will be continued through the entire subdivision. That does lead into the next item of pedestrian connectivity, which any new public street within the city is required to have a 5-foot sidewalk along the street. All the lots within the proposed primary plat will have 5-foot sidewalk in front of them. There's one component on Approach Drive that is common area. So Approach Drive, common area A is to the east where the wetland area is. And that's where that significant tree line is. And so the applicant's trying to avoid clearance of trees. You have a roadway there, but you also have, if you have that 5-foot sidewalk along the side of the roadway, it's going to encroach into the wooded area. What the applicant is proposing on the primary plat, you'll see a little bit of a winding path. That is a proposed natural trail that in place partly exists within the woodland area that connects the end of the sidewalk on the northernmost lot all the way south along Approach Drive to the next available public lot, buildable lot. As I looked at it, there is sidewalk connectivity for every lot to get back down to the Bridgewater and all the way down to Morning View Road. There's sidewalk on the east side of Approach Drive, and wherever there's a buildable lot. It's that common area that they want to avoid the sidewalk and put in a natural trail. So I think connectivity is still provided. It's just not your typical sidewalk that you see. But again, every lot has access to a sidewalk to get you back into town. So that is a second, in essence, waiver request. Is instead of doing a public sidewalk on that side of Approach Drive, they're proposing to do the trail. I already mentioned the east-west roadway is a Sawgrass Way. There is a requirement right now, if you look at the primary plat, it's just dead ends. And the city no longer just allows a street to dead end at a property line like what Approach Drive did. There has to be a way to turn around. That's maybe for emergency vehicles, service vehicles like a snowplow, etc. Has to have a way to turn around. We do allow that turnaround to be in a gravel surface, which when you, for example, move out to lots of estates, you'll see turnarounds at each one of their dead-end streets because they will be continued. But again, you have vehicles that need to get down that roadway and then they're at a dead end and no way to turn around except in someone's driveway. So the requirement is to have at least a temporary cul-de-sac. It either needs to be upon the property of the subdivision or it can be on an adjacent property if there's an easement. The details of that have not been worked out. The plat as drawn shows it going to the property line. But again, that has to be addressed before we would approve any infrastructure plans for what's known as Section 2 of the subdivision. So I'm just pointing that out, that it has been brought up to the applicant. We'll address it. It's just, I think how details perhaps the ability to put that temporary cul-de-sac on the property to the east. There are 2 phases for the subdivision. Can you scroll to the plat? If you look at the plat drawing, there are 2 sections, 2 phases to this development. So Approach Drive, everything, all the lots to the west of Approach Drive are part of Section 1. The detention basin also part of Section 1. It's just providing the detention for the entire subdivision. The lots along Sawgrass Way are part of Section 2. There was discussion recently about Common Area A is actually in Section 2. And in reality, when we consider the trail, if we're going to consider that waiver of that sidewalk requirement there, that segment, Common Area A, probably should be in Section 1 as well. We have not discussed this with the applicant. This just came up very recently. But it is our thought that Common Area A should be part of Section 1, and then some type of easement, something in place to allow the public to walk upon that common trail. Because again, the sidewalks are public for everybody, not just the residents of North Point. And if we're going to allow the waiver, that's, we support that as staff. We like the idea of the natural trail. There just needs to be some protection for the public on that trail, as they get back to the public sidewalk. So we believe that section line perhaps should be redrawn. Section 2 along Sawgrass Way is fine for phase 2, but common areas A and B should be part of section 1 plat. That would be a recommended condition. It's not in your staff report, but it's what we would recommend. So as we get to the recommendation and the recommended conditions, again, there's the 2 waiver requests by the applicant. We feel as staff, both are reasonable requests, don't detract or negatively impact the subdivision in any way. The proposed sidewalk along Approach Drive, a very reasonable request. We feel, again, since all the lots have access to a true concrete public sidewalk. The primary plat complies with all the other requirements and standards of the UDO. So staff does recommend approval of the 2 waiver requests and recommend approval of the primary plat subject to what I have listed here are 5 conditions that are proposed as 6th one. The first condition, as I already mentioned, is approval of the reclassification of zoning needs to occur for this to the R2 district for this primary plat to be valid. Drainage Board still needs to approve the stormwater plan, which includes relocation of the county drain. A temporary cul-de-sac does need to be provided for the eastern terminus of Sawgrass Way. That would be, again, part of the infrastructure plans for section 2. There is a requirement for the stormwater management BMP maintenance agreement needed. That's done for all of our projects in the city. And then the routing comments that I mentioned need to be addressed with a revised plan sheet. What I propose as the 6th condition is inclusion of common area A in section 1 of the subdivision, and then provisions made for public access to the trail. I have submitted proposed findings. Primary plat does require, findings of fact, so I've submitted those for your consideration. That concludes staff.
Thank you. Any questions for staff from the commission members?
So Jim, is common area B part of section 1?
It is. The detention basin is part of section 1, yes.
Okay, and you're requesting common area A be part of section 1 because of the trail?
Because of the trail, the segments, yes. Yes.
Okay. So to be clear, county council or city council has to approve the zoning. They have to approve the annexation.
They don't technically have to approve the annexation. I mean, it's a voluntary annexation. can't imagine council won't, but it's technically not required. We have subdivisions, you know, that are hardly in the city that we approve plats for.
Okay. Third is the cul-de-sac drawing.
Yes.
Would it be better suited to wait until those are approved for us to approve the primary plat?
The primary plat isn't going to, if you approve it, the primary plat is not going to be valid without the rezoning, because it doesn't comply. They won't be able to go to the next step of secondary plat that will comply with the requirements. It'll have to be drastically changed without the rezoning. So having a primary plat condition upon rezoning, I think we've actually even done it here before, but I've certainly seen it done. So that does not concern staff. The cul-de-sac, I mean, it's desired to have it addressed as part of the primary plat, but again, with the condition, it has to be done, it has to be addressed. When the next step, if you approve primary plat, the zoning happens, their next step is infrastructure plans. And staff is not going to allow that to go to the Board of Works for acceptance or approval without that temporary cul-de-sac being addressed somehow. I just don't think enough time, was allotted for the applicant to secure an easement off-site if that's what they wanted to do. Otherwise, you're probably looking at the two easternmost lots just not being able to be built on it, until the road gets extended. But that's a decision that not necessarily has to be done for primary plat, staff's opinion.
That's been
I'd rather
for the
not.
horse issue before. That's one of the arguments I had before, but it was alleviated by assigning it as a condition that would make it a moot point if it failed.
And I'd rather not have the petitioner have to come back to another plan commission meeting if it's not needed. So, anything further for staff? Okay, thank you. We may call you back up. Would somebody on behalf of the petitioner like to come forward and discuss the project and in particular the sixth condition that we're just made aware of?
Good evening, Brett Miller, MLS Engineering. Thank you, Jim, for the nice presentation. We have no issues adding that the wetland areas in section 1. It's kind of probably something we just overlooked, but I think the wetlands is something that the developer wants to use as a nice feature for the subdivision, the reason for the trail. I think the only other thing would like to add would be on the drain reroute. We have had some preliminary conversations with the surveyor's office just to kind of run that by them, and there was no red flags at that time of, absolutely not, and they were in favor of what we were drawing up. So I think that was pretty much it. I think I'll answer any type of questions or you have.
Anybody from the commission have any questions?
The cul-de-sac, did you answer that?
It's going to be in section 2. I think, just like Hank would maybe mention, that ideally maybe something off-site. It's a temporary turnaround. Section 2, it is all wooded section. Ideally, when we started this, it's like we want to keep as much trees. I think the section 2, that's will happen most likely, but I guess we're kind of just leaving that up for the future concern. I mean, worst case, we adjust those lots with the cul-de-sac on their property. So, I mean, if there's room to do it, it's just we were just, I guess, leaving that for later, I guess. Not a great answer, but.
Any further questions?
I don't know if it'd be for you or for the applicant, but the public access on a common area from a covenants and restrictions or a liability standpoint, are you guys prepared to make that degree of a consideration for public use on your private land for that trail aspect?
I don't think we have an issue with it. We'll try to limit that to the trail, not make it some blanket statement. So figure out, how we can do that, because what we have drawn on this is just showing you something pretty. It's not going to look like this. How we handle that. I guess maybe we discuss later. I don't know the best way to.
Okay.
That'd be kind of limited to maybe just the limits of that space. But try to make this trail a nice feature for the neighbors.
Okay. Thank you.
Just curious, is the trail maintained? I could have missed it, but
Say it again.
is the trail maintained at all? Or Is it gonna like set it and forget it, or?
I think the goal would be for them to maintain, because they want to use all this.
Sure.
So what that final surface is and how well that's, how that's maintained, I guess, can be determined.
For example, Bear Creek has one, and we put one back through between Cub Drive and Kodiak Trail, and inherently it's neighborhood HOA members just going back and clearing the brush and clearing it as a walkable path. We've laid sawgrass and material and stuff down there to help ensure it's clear, but it's a nature walk. It's not a reinforced, But I would imagine this would be something relatively
Chris,
similar.
in that example, did it take the place of a public sidewalk?
No.
No, so that is.
Nope,
in
it was
addition
actually
to-
something one of the Cub Scouts and one of the residents put in as part of a Cub Scout project or a Boy Scout project, and had just since been added and continued.
Mhm.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you. We may have more questions for you. Anybody from the public like to come and speak to the project? Please state your name and address.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Pinchon.
Hi, Mr. Retired Person.
I know. Yes. I'm Jamie Murley. I live at 2009 Approach Drive in Auburn. It's that road that they're talking about. And I don't know, was it you that I talked to on the phone? Okay, good. We've lived in the subdivision North Villas for 8 years. And for those 8 years, we've had construction, all, getting the houses built. We were one of the first 12 homes there. And it's pain, right? So we love the idea of this, and we're not opposed to any of that, but what we are opposed to is the approach drive entrance only to this development, right? Because rocks, cement, electric, everything comes through, and they park their cars. We've got lots of kids, back in that area now, lots of travel, and that's gonna be the only entrance to doing anything. So we would like to see in that area, like a construction-only temporary entrance access somewhere other than Approach Drive. And I went riding around, taking a peek. And so I looked at that exact part that you were talking to me about the south of Greenhurst, Greenhurst 1, and I guess it would be north of Andy's past property. And I don't think that that's an accessible road, but I do think that it's accessible for people to get through to do that kind of work, to someplace other. I don't know where it would be. We talked to greatly about it, but that's just our major concern is that's the only access for, 44? Plot 44, that's a lot of years. That, if it took like with and Emily was really great at getting all of our stuff sold, and that things were going up. But I think we have 32 lots. I'm not sure in the villas, but it took 8 years to get it done with tractors and trucks everywhere. And we're all like, woo, it's done. No, it's not, So now everything's going to come back, and that's just the only concern that we have. We just wanted to go on record saying that, so.
So you're talking about to the west, that farmland area. I think it's being farmed right now. So that's where you were kind of saying, but I think it is being.
Property where he used to live, we live on the
Yeah.
outside, that's not being
I know.
developed yet, but it would be, as you're looking at going straight down to 427, it would be there, just
Yeah,
south
but they're-
of, there's just I don't know, what do you call it, movement? But I see a road there. I took a bike. But there's space there. I don't know if it's a possibility or not, but we just wanted to go on record. Putting it out there.
about coming
Can I go now?
in. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
There is a little. Anyone else from the public like to come and speak?
It's a pretty serious terrain back in there. Drops way down.
Oh, it does. I didn't see the elevation cut.
Hello, my name is Joan Waldron, and I live at 2018 Approach Drive. And I would like to second everything that she said. I'm only in my home 5 years, and I went hey with you because I'm done with the nail pops in the ceiling and just the dirt in the streets. And so I know that that doesn't seem like a big thing until you live there. And I guess I'd like to know, with 44 homes being built there, what is the percentage that our traffic is going to increase? And what is the mileage from where Approach Drive ends now and to this street? And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that street that goes north of there. That you said they could cut across eventually? No?
36.
No street to cut across?
36.
We're it?
35.
So no plan B is in order if we protest and it falls on ears that really don't want to hear it. I would appreciate it if you would consider, if that's going to go in, and it sounds like that part is a done deal with the North Point company, that you would at least try to consider another street. And you're telling me there is none?
Not at this time.
They don't
It's
own
adjacent
the
to-
property.
Yeah.
The only one that connects to that property is Approach Drive.
No, I can't do that.
Pardon me?
There's no adjacent property or public access that doesn't dead end into a cul-de-sac in anywhere near the access
So no
point.
consideration is given to the added traffic that we're going to have. And I realize it's a city street.
No, and
Or will be.
to maybe give you some context, I live out Bear Creek, so I've got that as a very good frame of reference. There's currently now slotted to be 213 houses, and it took about 25 years to get a secondary access as it built south to County Road 56. So just 25 years later, there was built out far enough south where there was an additional access. There was roughly 270 homes out there with one single entrance. As it built out through 9 sections. So I understand the pain point. I've owned 3 houses in there. But unfortunately, without a degree of connectivity, when you do have that much mileage, it makes it a very difficult consideration. And this is 40 houses compared to 240, and that didn't bridge a requirement from public safety or others to require a secondary access.
To reiterate, it took, I don't even know how many homes were here when I got there. Probably
There was
5.
five.
There were 5.
And I think even what she's saying is just, we're looking at something temporary. We're not looking to have anything built or anything like that. Just let the construction workers come down a temporary access to come do that stuff. That's all I'm asking. I think that she'd be happy with that as well, you know.
It still has to pass our homes though.
If they don't put a temporary in right now for construction, yeah. But you're right, if they, for the 44, it would just be our entrance.
What is the mileage? Do you have any idea from where Approach ends and the end of this subdivision?
No.
Because even if you take 3, and is it going to be 2-story family homes? Could they put apartment buildings in there?
No.
No.
Okay, good. But is it going to be like villas or just 2-story family homes? Like we have a mix in Bridgewater.
This is
Jim, do you want to explain the R2?
Excuse me?
Do you want to explain the zoning that we went through prior and what can go in the homes tour?
Yeah,
Jim.
it's restricted to single-family detached homes. They could be a villa home like the Bridgewater North. It could be just a non-villa home, but they will be single-family detached homes. So, yeah. I don't know if there's 2-story, 1-story. That I don't believe that has been made. The city doesn't control that. We only control the minimum size of the home.
Children, but I'm also thinking of teenagers in the house where you have 4 cars to the house. So very well could be. Okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Anybody else from the public? I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it back over to the commission for further discussion. Any further discussion? Okay, before we go into findings of facts, I believe we need a motion to add a number 6 condition. I wrote down something, but it's not what you said. I said common area A trail to be included in section 1. You said it more. How should that motion be stated as number 6?
Could it be as simply stated as the 5 presented motions, the one verbally detailed as the 6th by staff? Because it's on record. We can go back and look at the notes to pull the exact language.
Okay, I guess we don't need to add number 6 until we do that then. So I was going to add that first, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and take a look at the findings then. Again, we have our standard 5 findings. We need to approve those. So I need to entertain a motion.
Move to approve findings of fact for PC primary plat 2026-002, all in the affirmative.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on those? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So we do need a motion then to approve with the 2 waivers and the 5+1 conditions.
I move to approve PC primary plat 2026-002 with the 2 waiver considerations as noted by staff, the 5 written presented staff conditions, as well as the one verbally stated by staff during their staff report.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. On to reports. Address report.
Thank you. One address item this evening. The Fieldstone subdivision, which was proposed or is proposed for a tract of land that's directly to the west of the YMCA soccer complex and up County Road 36A. As identified here, is that triangular piece is the Fieldstone subdivision. It's gone through a little bit of a change since the planning commission looked at it, being that at one point there were duplexes approved up front and some townhome buildings, about 15 units in the back corner. That plan has changed where they removed proposed townhouses, only doing the duplex units, and then the detention basin has actually been moved back to the corner of the property. So we have addressed, these are now public streets. Initially, they were going to be private. They will now be public street. So one access off of County Road 36A, and then a north-south cul-de-sac road in the middle of the development. Road name would be Sloan Court, and so we're proposing the addresses that are submitted to you this evening. We did route that to the address committee, to the 911 officials, et cetera, for review, and it's ready for presentation this evening. The Planning Commission does have to approve assignment of addresses.
Just a quick question. This is a side note. How long ago was that development plan approved? I mean,
It's been a couple of years. They got an extension to the initial primary plan, and then they made modifications to that. Modifications that didn't trigger it. Have
right, the percentage.
review, but it's been in the works for a couple of years.
Yeah. Okay.
So you say it doesn't trigger it to come back. Why does it not trigger it to come back?
There are certain thresholds that have to be met if you're changing, like the access points off of the county road. Certainly, it's a PD district, so the planned development district allows certain uses. They changed, they got rid of the townhomes, well, that didn't trigger it to come back. They didn't add another use, they've kept the duplex units. They didn't make enough changes. The interior roadway, it used to be a looped roadway, if you recall, now it's just the one cul-de-sac. Didn't feel that really triggered a whole new primary plat, so.
Many years ago, we passed an ordinance, I believe part of the UDO or whatever, that certain things didn't have to come back to Plan Commission if modifications were made. So, yeah.
When they were deemed basic and administrative, if there were minor changes to the plat that did not overall change the scale of the
And that
program.
was spelled out. I just don't remember everything that was spelled out.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago or so, at least. One question though, this confuses me because it's a dual-ended cul-de-sac with the same name going in as well as going parallel. That seems different. Shouldn't it be 2 different street names?
there was discussion on that, so there won't be any access off of that initial Stump Street coming in, but it provides identification of the only street that's in there, which is Sloan Court. So we talked about it internally. It wasn't initially set up that way, but we felt it made more practical sense to only have the one name to the subdivision. So, if you go to Sloan Court, you'll see the Sloan Court sign, and that's it. That's all that's gonna be there. So it is a little different, a little unique situation,
Sure.
unlike anything else that we've seen.
Is there a north and a south Sloan Court at that point? No.
Yeah.
There's a similar situation in Bridgewater. I don't remember what street it is. It's one of the Bridgewater
Okay.
areas that are just like that we used as an example or reference.
Okay.
Same type of situation.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor of the address report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anything further from board members? City county liaison?
We're getting into something fun, animal feeding operations.
Yeah.
That we considered some text changes to the current ordinance. Mostly that was just some clarification, but they went from a 10-foot setback to a 30-foot setback for, a 299 cattle, count of cattle. This is going to be something that's going to be kind of a big deal because there's a lot more of these operations moving into the county, especially the east side. And we don't really have any good regulations right now in terms of containing any manure control and, requirements for how many animals per acre or anything like that. They thought 10 acres was good for 299 cattle. Nobody can give a number, and all the farmers on the panel are worried that it's going to be a slippery slope if you start designating some of those things. So we're looking into it. So we did give approval to send that to the commissioners to make those changes, but I think we all agreed that there's going to be a lot of studying necessary for what's going to be happening.
Are they referencing the IDEM standard?
Yes.
Because a lot of that covers
IDEM
that.
standards start, you go to the 299 on cattle. I think it's $5.99 for horses. It's $29,000 for chickens. So there's been several chicken barns approved. They're $27,000. What I don't see, one of my questions was, who's approving the manure containment plans? And they're like, well, nobody really. It's just that if there is any contamination runoff, then you can report it to IDEM and they'll come out and check it. But I also know that Braun signed something that is changing some of the things in IDEM. So I don't know what those changes are right now. One of the guys, I think it was Bill Van Wise, said, yeah, they're trying to loosen up some of the regulations a little bit. So I don't know, but I think that everybody would like to make sure that our environment is protected, our groundwater and soil and air. So
great.
That's what we're looking at.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks.
Project Advisory Committee? Nothing? City staff?
We will have a meeting in July. We have one item for your agenda.
Okay. And city attorney? Okay. Next meeting will be July 9th at 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Oh, Project Advisory. No.
What are you doing?
I'm reading the wrong one.
July 14th.
Bedtime.
Yeah, sorry. What July, what?
14th.
14th. There we go. At 6 p.m. I read the Project Advisory. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.